Did we just find the real-life Tatooine? This planet is so similar to the fictional world from Star Wars that it has two suns in the sky. And because it's so similar to our own solar system, astronomers can even predict what a sunset would look like on this incredibly faraway alien world. So do you want to know what it would look like if the sun set twice a day on an alien planet? Then stay tuned for this video. This exoplanet goes by the name Kepler-16b, and it is located in the constellation of Lyra. The Lyre. It is around 200 light-years away from us. It was discovered back in 2009. This exoplanet orbits two stars, which are similar to our Sun, but they orbit each other every 313 days. And then the planet itself orbits both of these stars with a period of 220 days. Now, since there are two stars, there are obviously two sets of sunrises and sunsets on this planet. And thanks to advanced technology, we were able to take a peek at this planet and see what it looks like. Now we can start off with the discovery of this planet and then move on to what it would look like on this planet when the sun sets twice a day. But before we do that, don't forget to leave a like. If you enjoy space videos and stick around until the end for more awesome space content, the discovery of Kepler-16b was a pretty normal one. It wasn't really special in any way. In fact, it was discovered by the Kepler Space Telescope by simply watching the brightness of different stars change over time. You see, as the star's brightness changed, it meant that something was passing in front of it, blocking some of its light. And after analyzing the data, scientists found out that this wasn't a single object doing this, but instead two objects orbiting the same star. And so astronomers knew right away that this had to be a planetary system. Now let's talk about the two suns themselves. These stars are very similar to our own sun and are actually known as a binary star system. What this means is that these two stars orbit each other instead of just one. Both of the stars have a mass similar to our sun, and they emit light in the same way. They are also very close to each other, only being separated by 35 astronomical units. That's less than 1/3 of the distance between the Sun and Neptune. Because they are so close to each other, they affect each other gravitationally, making them orbit around their center of mass. But what does all this mean for the planet? Well, the gravitational force of these two stars combined is almost double that of our Sun. And because of that, the planet had to be much larger in order to hold its ground and not get flung into space. This planet is nearly twice the size of Jupiter, although it might be mostly made of gas. We aren't sure yet. But if it's rocky, that means that it's several times heavier than our Earth. Also, since the orbit of this planet is extremely elongated, that means that it gets very close to the two stars, but also far away at times. As a result, it experiences a strong gravitational pull from the two stars and extreme temperature changes. But let's be honest, if this planet was habitable, nobody would want to live there anyway because of those extreme temperature changes. Now let us imagine that somehow you were transported to this planet and got the chance to experience what it's like there. How would it look? Would it feel like Christmas? Let us assume that you are on this planet during summer and that you are on the side that faces the two suns. The morning would start out pretty normal, maybe a bit warmer than what you are used to, and the sun would seem a little brighter, nothing too unusual. Especially if you have seen pictures of what a sunset on Mars looks like. That is because the color of the sky depends on the atmosphere of the planet and how well it scatters the sunlight. And the atmosphere of Mars is pretty thin, so the sun seems reddish. However, since the planet has two suns, sometimes the sky would be filled with three suns, one in the middle and two smaller ones on either side. And at certain points in time, you would see one set while the other one rises. And finally, when both of the suns would set, you would witness a beautiful view of two horizons at the same time. What an amazing sight that would be. And to make it even better, the night wouldn't be pitch black, because the glow from the other sun would still be reflecting onto the planet's surface. And what about the winters? Well, they probably wouldn't be that great. During winter, your location on the planet would face away from the two suns and into the darkness of space, and it would get pretty cold. And while most of the time it would be dark, you would still see a bright point of light in the sky, which would be the two suns orbiting each other and reflecting their light onto your part of the planet. I think that it would be similar to what a full moon looks like on our planet, or at least somewhat close. Now, if you wanted to visit this planet in real life, you would need a spaceship that travels faster than the speed of light. And unfortunately, According to Einstein's theory of relativity, that isn't possible. Even if you had a spaceship that could travel at 99% of the speed of light, it would still take 200 years to get there. That's because light takes 200 years to reach us from this planet.
Oh, what does the sky look like on this planet?
That depends on where you are. On the one hand, if you were standing on the equator, you would see the sky look like this. Not only would you see the two suns in the sky, but you would also see a bright ring all around them. This ring would be formed by stars. Since the planet rotates on its axis once every 11 days, the Earth's rotation causes the stars to appear to move around the planet, and this makes the stars near the poles appear to move in circles. So the stars near the equator appear to move up and down as the planet rotates. So if you were standing on the equator, you would see the path of these stars form a circle around the two suns. But of course, you would also see stars in other parts of the sky, not just around the two suns. But this ring would be the most prominent feature of the night sky on this planet. However, if you were at one of the poles, the sky would look completely different. There would be no ring, only a dome of stars above you. This is because the planet rotates so fast that the Earth's rotation makes the stars appear to be pinned to the sky. They seem to be attached to the celestial sphere above you. Now, what would you need to consider if you were actually living on such a planet? Aside from the extreme temperatures, which would destroy most human technology and our bodies in the process, you would have to consider how the orbit of the planet affects communications. Signals sent from one side of the planet to the other would have to be sent through space, rather than across the planet itself. Because if you were on the opposite side of the planet, you would not be able to see the other person. It's just like you cannot see the far side of the moon from Earth. Of course, satellites would be the solution to this problem, but you would need powerful rockets to launch them, because the planet has a strong gravitational pull. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you want to learn more about the universe, check out my new channel. Thanks again for everything, and I'll see you next time.